Good evening, fearless dreamers. Welcome to the first episode of Unstoppable Immigrant podcast. This is your captain and host Martina, and I am welcoming you on a journey of laughs, lessons, and unstoppable energy. Today's host is Milica, my best friend who's going to interview me. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the stories full of fearless journeys as you begin yours.
Hi, I'm Martina.
Hi, I'm Martina.
No, I'm Martina, and I'm an immigrant.
I am Martina and I am an immigrant. This is fun.
And she is really Martina, and this is her show. Let's start. So, Martina, who you really are?
My name is Martina. I'm unstoppable immigrant and I'm coming from Slovakia.
Oh, you're coming from Slovakia. This is
That's
where
right.
you grew up, right?
Yes. So I was born and raised there, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
So, how would you describe your childhood in Slovakia?
You know, growing up in Slovakia, like I'm coming from a very small town. It's only 5,000 people, like where I'm coming from. So it's like a very tiny, small village. Everybody knows everybody. And I'm a 90s kid. I grew up outside doing activities, like having fun with like my neighbors. And I had pretty great social life because, you know, we were kids in our block, like about the same age range. And we were just like outside all the time, playing games and running around and playing hide and seek and just like living in the moment. That was the era without the phones, without the social media. Yes, of course we had TV, but we were not like so dialed to watching TV all the time. So it was actually a great time. Like we did a lot of like winter activities like skiing during the summer. We would do hiking. So it was pretty great childhood. I'm very happy that I was in that era before the phones.
Yeah, you were more present.
More present.
Right? You have a good foundations of knowing what to do without the phones.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. You know, we need more of that in this new era.
Yes, absolutely.
I would say. Yeah. Wow. And what is one thing about Slovakia that you wish that everybody knew?
You know, I wish everybody knew that Slovakia exists. Because, believe it or not, but in my immigrant journey, I've learned that a lot of people do not know that Slovakia exists. They always think it's part of Russia or I don't even know. One time someone had asked me if Slovakia is capital city of Slovenia.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So like, I really wish that more people knew of it because Slovakia is a beautiful country. It's very underrated. We have a rich nature, beautiful forests and mountains and lakes and great food, and it's very affordable. Life over there is really good, super fresh air, and I really love it. I love Slovakia. I'm very happy that I'm from there.
I've never been to Slovakia, but I would really love to go there.
Yes.
It's on my bucket list.
I'll take you.
Yes, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I heard
It's also
very good
full
things
of
about it.
Yeah. It's we have like a great history. We have a lot of historical castles, and my hometown has a castle from the 13th century.
Oh, wow.
And when I was a little girl, I was like, oh my god, like one day I'm gonna get married in this castle. That was always like my little, vision.
Oh,
It's
that's
very beautiful. And we have a zoo and we have a thermal spa. So it's a very small town, but it's pretty meaningful in Slovakia and important in Slovakia because of the tourism. Like a lot of Slovakians during the summer and even winter go and visit.
What is the name of your town?
Bojnice.
Bojnice?
Yes, Bojnice.
This makes me actually to really book a ticket and go there, see that castle and visit. Amazing.
Yeah.
Why have you decided to move to America?
To
Why
move
choose
to America, You know, the thing is that, like, with my parents, we were always like traveling and discovering places, and every Sunday we would do little trips, like nearby, 2 hours drive, 1 hour's drive, like to discover and like explore Slovakia. So that has always been in me to like explore and see other places. And believe it or not, but America was actually not my first destination where I relocated. My very first destination was Greece.
Oh wow.
And that's when I was 18 years old. I had just finished high school, and that was like the summer after that. So I lived there for the very first time for 4 months with my best friends, and that
Wow.
for me was like the craziest, reckless summer
You were
of my
18
life.
years old.
18 years old,
That's
yes.
yeah, that's young.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, you know, like from that summer, you know, no parents, no teachers. And yes, I had a boss because I was working at the hotel. So we had bosses, managers, and stuff like that. But for me, that was such a freeing moment because I was my own boss. I was taking care of myself and I was with my best friends and we were working, partying, having so much fun. And to make the long story short, it was the best summer of my life and I had gained 20 pounds in 4 months.
That is fun. That is a
The
fun.
food was so good that,
Oh wow.
you know, like I was working as a server at the buffet in a restaurant in the mornings. And after every shift, we had the buffet for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a lot of like
I
eating
can
it and
imagine.
eating it and also like I wanted to save money on food, you know?
Yeah.
So I would always eat so much after every shift that it
So you wouldn't
would
feel hungry.
Yes.
Oh,
And then
wow,
I would go
interesting.
out and drink alcohol and eat pizza and that was my dinner. So after that summer, I realized that there's so much in the world that I want to explore. So then I lived in London. I'm not gonna get into too many details of that, but then America comes to mind. And I do have a very cute story from my childhood because growing up in Slovakia, like my mom would wake me and my brother up about 1 hour earlier to shovel the snow from our driveway. And I remember how unhappy I was doing that, you know, to wake up 1 hour earlier,
Yes.
like to
And it's
shovel,
cold.
and it's cold,
Right after
and
the
I have
bed.
to roll out
Oh.
of my warm bed, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I remember as a little girl, like shoveling the snow, I had this thought in my mind, like a self-talk almost, where I was saying to myself, like, when I'm a big girl, I'm gonna live somewhere where snow doesn't exist. So that was like my self talk. Like, you know, where I'm a big girl, I live there. And somehow the little connections in life brought me to Miami. I came here for the very first time when I was, I believe, 20. 20. I was 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. I came here because.
That's very young.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
young,
super
right?
young.
I don't know how I was doing that, but anyhow. So I was 19, 20 years old, and I came here with someone I was dating that time. We are both Slovakians, and we had a connection in Miami. So this person basically told us that, you know, the person can help us find a job, find accommodation, and all of that. And, you know, I remember the moment when the idea started that we would actually do it, and I had to like get all my like power together to convince my mom, because like I had to tell her my new plan. I was like
That you're moving
that
to
I need
America.
money, you know.
Oh, that you need
That
money
I need
for
money and of course approval, right? So I was like, okay, damn, how I'm gonna do this? Like, I know it's going to be expensive flight. I know I'm gonna need some pocket money. So, you know, I came up with this little strategy. So I told her that like I'm going with the person I was dating, and we have everything prepared, even though we didn't, right? But I just have to like
You made
tell
up the
her.
story.
I made yeah. So I just really needed her to like help me out. So what my
Wow.
mom did is like she pulled out like some like long-term savings that I had. I don't know who was like I don't know if my grandma started or whatever, but they were like some like pretty long savings that like she pulled out to give me money
Nice.
for the flight. And I remember she gave me $700 as a pocket money. So that was my first summer in Miami. And you know, I will never forget the moment when we were about to land, and from the little window in the plane,
You can see
I
Miami.
saw Miami
Lights.
for the first time. It was
Wow.
daytime. So, like,
Oh.
I could see the islands and the palm
Oh,
trees and the
beautiful
skyscrapers and the
water.
ocean and the turquoise water. I was like, I can't believe I'm
Welcome
gonna
to the
be
heaven.
there. Yeah, welcome to the heaven. I was like, I just can't believe this is my reality. Is this really happening? Like, am I really going to be in America? Like, this is my dream. Like, before, I would only see everything about United States in TV, you know? So now I'm sitting in a plane, about to land. I just saw it in the window, and I will never forget how that feeling of excitement, like how I felt. I will never forget that moment. So, you know, that was the first time we were here, and like everything was super new to me. And I remember walking on Ocean Drive, and I was like, oh my God, like this is like the movie. I feel like in the movie. Like
You're
I
living
see
your movie.
my own movie, yes. So like all of the, you know, the exotic cars and like people from different places and races and religions, and I was like, this is so exciting. I was like, I love it here. So that was the first summer, and then I moved back to Slovakia, like had my job and this and that, and then the second summer would roll around, and we again with the person I was dating, we wanted to again go somewhere to spend the summer. And you know, we were like looking for options, and then we were like, America it is.
Let's go
We
back.
gotta go back to America. So because we already knew some people and like we had the same accommodation, and I really have to tell you about this accommodation. It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. So we found that place on Craigslist. And you know, like imagine you just trust this website that you're gonna find like your job and your accommodation and this and that. But that, like, I believe that we were very lucky and we were meant to find this place because it was 2-floor apartment, 3-bedroom. But the beauty of it was that the first floor only had kitchen and a 1-bedroom, but that 1-bedroom had 3 bunk beds for 6 people.
Oh wow.
So 6 people lived in that room with 1 bathroom. And on the second floor were 2 bedrooms, living room and the balcony. But 1 bedroom was only for the landlord with her small daughter. And the second bedroom was again 3 bunk beds for girls. So
wow.
So
this
that's
is like living like a student.
Like a student, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes. So
wow.
these are the real deal
Where was this apartment?
beginnings.
In which area?
South Beach.
Oh, okay.
South Beach. And you know, like, these are like a really humble beginnings, like immigrant beginnings. Like a lot of people have these expectations, like I go to America, I have straight up amazing job, I'm making $1 million a year, I live in a mansion. That is not the reality.
That's not the case.
At least it was not my reality. At least from what I know, it's not reality for most of the people. So like these were the humble beginnings, but at the same time, like I remember one time coming home to this apartment and it was dark. And when I turned on the light, all the cockroaches were like,
oh,
like all
yikes.
over the kitchen.
Oh,
my
that
God.
must be a very old buildings, right? Somewhere.
It's like an Art Deco
Yeah,
building,
yeah,
but like, you know what I really loved, despite the cockroaches and humble shared living, I loved that the people we shared this living with,
You were like a family.
we were like a family.
Yeah.
I would go out with the girls and the boys would do their thing, and then we would cook together and like chill together, barbecue together, watch movie together. The landlord, she was like our mother. Like she was so lovely. She would help us a lot.
Oh, that's nice.
She was like a gangster, a genius, and a great heart at the same time. Like she was definitely my angel.
All tenants, they were immigrants? Like
Students, immigrants,
Okay.
everybody was all
From
over
all
the
over the
world.
world.
Italians, French, Puerto Rico, like mix of different.
And how long you live there in that apartment?
3 months, 2 times. So one summer, 3 months,
Yeah, the
and the
second
next
time.
summer, 3 months. We went back to that accommodation because, we already knew the landlord, and
Right.
it was so convenient because it's one block away from the beach.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as an immigrant, like,
You want to be by the beach.
you want to be in the most convenient place because we didn't, this was 10 years ago. We didn't have car. We didn't have access to the car. Uber was not established yet. It was non-existing yet.
Yes.
And for us to go anywhere outside of South Beach was like a field trip.
Yeah, I know.
Like everything seemed to be like way too far. Downtown, forget it. That was like a day trip.
Yeah.
And now like
Now it's
10
all-
years later,
yeah.
like now we are familiar with like, okay, now I know where's Coral Gables, now I know where's Delray Beach, now I know how to get to exit 5, to exit 10, like now it's like bam bam, like so familiar with everything. But we lived in this apartment because it was one block away from the beach, and for us as an immigrants, like we were working on Ocean Drive. My very first job was a hostess. Like I was standing in front of the restaurant and like trying to grab all the people in. I was like, come and have 1-on-1 shots, or like free shots, or like any of these phrases. Like,
These ladies are still there.
I
Hostesses
know,
doing the same thing
Jesus.
on Ocean Drive. If you ever been to Miami, you definitely
Yeah.
see the whole. But honey, that's really fun.
I had
like
so
it.
much fun.
Yeah, so much
I met
fun.
so many people. Like that was incredible.
I believe you. Yes.
And
yes.
yeah, so these were the beginnings, and like I have to like walk the whole Ocean Drive to like find the jobs. It was not like it was given to me. Like I had to take these opportunities in my own hands and like even open my own door, like do it all myself. This episode is brought to you by JLax Label, a woman-owned, California-based brand redefining modern fashion. Fall in love with bold, confident, and unstoppable style. Use code MARTINA20 for 20% off your next purchase. Thank you so much, JLax Label, for supporting this podcast.
I'm interested to find out, and for the also other
Listeners.
listeners and people who will watch this later, what was your mindset back then? Because coming from a little country, as you said, little town that has only 5,000 people, to America. I mean, that's a different language, different culture. Miami is much bigger than your city and your country.
Yes.
So what was your main mindset when you moved here and doing all of this?
So the mindset is the most important thing. And I was here twice before I moved here alone. Right. So those 2 times my mindset was YOLO, let me have the most fun, let me travel, let me just enjoy the beach and get the tan, and like that was my mindset like before. But then I actually moved here by myself when I was 22 turning 23. And that's like when everything has changed for me, because I was supposed to stay here only for 3 months, and now I'm starting my 10th year. Okay, so that's a big jump.
Big celebration.
Yes. So the mindset before was very different, and then when I moved by myself and I've decided to stay, that's when I was like, oh my God. Now I'm responsible for my own life. Now I have to like make it in the foreign country where I know a little bit of the people, but not really that many people. And I just have to like get into it. Like I became such a social butterfly, because I realized I was like, this is not like my hometown. Like this is not where I can knock on someone's doors and they're gonna open because they know me. And if I don't have money or food or whatever, they would help me. This is not like that. And I was like, now I'm responsible for my life. And as you would say, I became the star of my own movie, because I've realized that like, okay, now it's everything up to me. I don't have mommy to call, daddy to
No
call,
family, nobody.
nobody to call. Now I make my own calls, so I would be social butterfly out there and trying to like create the reality that I desire. Because back home, I didn't have the reality I desire. And when I was here twice, I realized like all these opportunities and the beach life and the tropical climate. And who wouldn't want that, right?
Yes, who would not? That is so true.
So I've decided that, now I'm responsible, and the mindset was when I've decided to stay here, my mindset was very clear, and that's like item price. I know what I need to do
Focus.
to be here, to stay here, to start my life from scratch all over, but this time, no influence from anyone, no influence from teachers, from parents, from no one. This time, it's me and whatever I make out of my own life.
Right, whatever you create for yourself, that's it. Right.
But also like another, this is a 9 years I can talk about, like my experience. But I think the biggest mindset shift was when I was like about 25, 26 years old, and I was introduced to yoga, and I started journaling and meditation and therapy and just overall self development and improvement. I think that's why I dialed in and became more clear on my goals and education and business and career and like everything. I think the first 3 years when I decided to come here, at the age of 22, 23, I was just living my best life. I was not thinking long term. I was just partying again. That 1 year after the second summer and before I had moved here by myself, that was the worst year of my life. So, like my family, like falling apart, my parents divorced, I broke up with the person, I came here twice. I had no money, no job. I moved from my hometown Bojnice to capital city of Slovakia, Bratislava. And again, I had to create my own thing, but I was so depressed and unhappy, unmotivated. I was eating chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because that was I needed some sort of like escape from the shitty reality that I had. And like one day my mom was like, you can't be here anymore. I was like, I know.
She
I need
noticed
to, yeah.
in you.
She was
that,
like, you need to
yeah.
be in America, and I was like, yeah. So like the mindset shift was crazy, but the biggest mindset shift was when I was like 26 and started to work on this.
Right, on your mind.
Yeah.
What was the toughest part for you of moving to America?
I'm gonna talk about the era when I came here by myself because
Right,
that for me
yes,
was
that's
like
the-
the most life changing. So I think like to beat the loneliness was the hardest for me because yes, I knew a couple of the people already, twice being here before that, but I felt like nobody really gets me. Nobody understands my ambition. Nobody understands my reasoning. And I just felt very lonely because, like, yes, even if I call my mom or my dad or my brother or whoever, my best friends, like, yes, they are there for me to listen to me, but they cannot really feel my feelings, understand what I'm going through because they've never done that. So for them, it's hard to, like, maybe give me
even
advice.
picture it or
even just understand it.
Yeah.
So like I was beating the loneliness, and then yes, I did feel like I'm expanding and meeting more people and love and friends and opportunities, but overall these years I think loneliness still, like, I feel it even now sometimes, and I'm not lonely at all, but it's just like I came from completely different world to completely different world.
Right,
Like it's like
right.
black and white, like night and day, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, and that's me, and I'm like, oh wow, now my reality is completely different. So I think the toughest part was definitely loneliness, but of course like the cultural difference and money. Like I had $700 when I moved here. I paid $500 rent, and I had $200 left
To leave.
to get a phone,
Yeah.
to get food,
Yeah.
to get transportation. I was like, damn, I need to start hustling. Like I need to start making money. I need to start meeting people. I just need to start creating. Attention, listeners. Don't forget to leave us a review to help this podcast grow. You can also subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Spotify to keep up with the latest episodes. And now, thank you so much for flying the unstoppable immigrant airwaves, and let's get back to the show.
Did you ever have a moment when you were, you know what? I'm giving up. Like I don't care anymore. I want to give up.
Like,
did you have? Or
SOS, I wanna cry.
yes.
Moments. I mean, there is so many of them, honestly, in these 9 years of journey. There was definitely a lot of moments when I was like, I don't know what to do right now. I don't know if I'm in the right place. Was this the right decision? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is like when I basically realized that the sacrifices I'm making are catching up on me. Because when I moved here, I didn't really think of like a super long term. I didn't calculate all my moves or like consequences. I was just living in the moment, having fun, enjoying. And I haven't realized what I'm sacrificing, and that is the family. Because I wasn't with them for a very long time. And I think the most eye-opening moment for me was when I finally could go back to Slovakia. And I landed in Vienna, and my best friend picked me up in Bratislava. And I saw a message on my phone that my grandfather passed away. I do not remember last time seeing him because I did not say goodbye to him when I came to US. And I was then thinking, oh my God, like I don't remember like my last memories with this person. So that was my eye-opening moment. Then I was here for like 2-3 years, and then I went back home to Slovakia after 2-3 years, and I'm going to funeral.
Yeah,
where I
things
meet
change
where I
and-
meet my family that I haven't seen 2-3 years,
Yeah.
and I meet them in the funeral, and
Wow.
I was like, this is my eye-opening moment that I realized what I'm actually sacrificing.
And what exactly family means in that connection, and what is the priority of your time?
So the thing is, before I could go back to Slovakia, I could not really see them so often. And yes, they come to visit once a year, but in the grand scheme of things, like the family stuff, the family like connection and everything is changing because they are there living the same life in Slovakia, in my hometown, having the same job, the same group of friends.
Same routine.
Same life. They're the same people.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I feel like for me, everything has been changing so quickly and rapidly that I have become such a different person. So now we have to sort of like reconnect because they are very different. Their mindset is different. I'm very different. My mindset is different. And, a lot of time, like Christmas and Easter and birthdays and names days we have in Slovakia, like I would not see my family.
And sometimes weddings and
Weddings
yeah, when some
and-
little kid is born, and that celebrations and all that.
So all of these like things that
Yeah.
people don't even realize
Yeah.
like how important they are, and a lot of people take them for granted because they have access to it all the time.
Yes.
But like for me, I remember I was very sad one Christmas. I don't remember which year, but I was working and I saw all of these families together, gathering over the table, enjoying breakfast, and I'm serving. Then I'm like, this is not the reality I want. Like, why am I not with my family? It's Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, these are the sacrifices, and, like, they pile up over the time, And as you said, like, there was so many things I missed out because I was here. So, on, like, this family aspect, like, it's definitely something that has taken the toll.
Yeah.
And
but you
yes-
grew a lot from that journey, and not seeing them, and not you, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it has
Yeah.
shaped me, like, to
Yeah,
who I
a
am
lot.
today.
Right. So if you would sum up your immigrant journey in one sentence or one word, what that word would be, and why?
I think like a growth.
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 Why?
The growth that I would never say I'm capable of achieving. Because, like, you know, it's been 9 years plus 2 summers. So, like, that's a very long time of being in a different country,
Yes.
speaking different language,
Yes.
being around
Different people,
strangers.
from all over the world, basically.
So,
different
like,
cultures, yeah.
Yeah, and like this whole process of like, education and the visa and like adapting to being in America and making dollars and understanding the value of making dollars versus making euros. Like it's very different.
Yeah.
So I think the growth, it's just remarkable.
It is.
It's crazy.
And forgetting about your food and finding, very tasty American food and different cultures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
What is your wow moment through this journey that you've been through in the past 9 years and the moment when you can say, I made it? What is that moment?
To be fair, I'm very grateful that there is not only one of those moments over years, but the biggest, like, wow, I made it moment is this.
Yay, 2 passports! Yeah, that is huge.
This is the biggest wow, I fucking made it moment. When I got my my blue passport, I got myself a bottle of champagne. I drank it by myself. Yeah.
Yes, that is celebration moment for you.
That was like the end of
That's huge.
survival and welcome thriving. That's how I have it in my mind, like separated, because this is the ultimate thing that everybody wants who comes and immigrates to this country. So when I achieved it, I was like, okay, I'm finally in a final step, grande finale. So that's definitely my wow, I made it moment. But another wow, I made it moment that I really want to emphasize, and I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to this, is that for us immigrants, the health and health insurance, it's a big deal. So,
Yes.
wow, I made it that in 9 years, I have to knock on the wood. I haven't been injured or I haven't really been to hospital. And I've done all of this without having a health insurance.
Yeah, yeah. Because you had a healthy mindset. Your mindset was always focused on growth and success. Yeah. Looking back in this past 9 years, 10 years almost, how did this journey shape you? Who you are today versus who you've been before moving to US?
Before I've done this whole immigration journey, I didn't have confidence. I didn't have strength and willpower, and I didn't believe in myself as much as I'm believing myself now. Before, I was just going with the flow, always following someone. I didn't know who I am, and I was also very young. But now, in my 30s, and I've done this whole process, and like, I just know who I am. And I think the journey shaped me so much. And all the bad things, and all the hurdles, and struggles, and obstacles, they were meant to be there in the part of the journey so I can grow from it and learn from it. And that's all been shaping me into the person who I am today.
And what is your mindset like now versus before?
I mean, limited beliefs and imposter syndrome were a big deal before for me. And as I said in your previous question about a mindset, then when I started all the yoga therapy and self-development and coaching, like review and stuff like that, I reprogrammed my limited beliefs that I've had from my childhood or from my teenagehood or early adulthood, that I realized that, like, oh my God, now none of this stuff really serves me anymore. It's irrelevant and I gotta let it go. So these were the things that I have to work on, my financial beliefs and confidence, and just overall like realize that yes, I am the main star of my movie and I can write the script however I want it. And that's how it can be and should be and will be.
Yes, let's go. I love it. This is what immigration journey actually brings out
Yes.
from within, right? Brings
Yes.
you to be bold, to move into action, to not go back. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one important thing that I really want to mention, because I want to make it as real and authentic as possible for the listeners and immigrants from all over the planet wherever they immigrate, is that this journey has been really like hard emotionally. And the only strategy that was working for me during this whole process was to be so focused, like eyes on prize, as I said previously, that I would not allow any other
No distractions.
emotions
Yeah.
to distract me. So, like, if I wanted to cry, or if I was angry, or if I was disappointed, or if someone offended me, or whatever was the case, that was the negative emotion or a negative situation, I was like, non-existent.
You don't belong here. You don't belong.
Adios. Not in my reality.
All right.
But what happened later, when I finished like the survival mode and I started to be in my feminine and thrive, is that all these emotions are catching up on me. So now I am like not closing my eyes in front of them, but now I really am like, okay, this is the suppressed emotion that I had during the process that now I need to learn, understand, feel, and be okay with it.
Yeah.
So like, I just wanted to say that like this journey is very emotional and it's not for everybody, and it's for strong people who have the real clear goal and vision and dream.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people who have homesicks, miss their mom or miss their dad or food or whatever, it's not for people like that.
No.
I know so many people from Slovakia or even Serbians or like from all over the world that they came here, they didn't like it because this is not good and that's not good, and they missed this, they missed that, and they moved back.
They went back. Yeah. Yeah.
And all those people cannot come back, to US. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I agree. What is one advice that you would give to people who are just starting their immigration journey, or they want to start now?
Just do it.
Like Nike.
Like
Just
Nike.
do it. Yeah, don't overthink. Just
Do it. And if you are thinking about doing it or already doing it or already done the whole process, either way, it's worth it. You're gonna love it and hate it at the same time in the process, but it's definitely going to change your life. Doesn't matter where you're immigrating, if you're immigrating to America or Australia or UK, wherever. The process of immigration is essentially to rewrite your own story, and it's worth it at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Just do it.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
You will never
Don't
regret.
give up.
Yeah, you
No.
will never regret.
I know it's easier for me to say because I'm already at the end, like finish point where I'm already redoing my new reality. But looking back, and if someone was to ask me if I want to do it again, I would still do it again. I would do this whole process again. Trust me, it's worth it.
Absolutely, it is worth it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's like, hello, your bright future is calling
Yes.
you. Feels like that.
Pick up your phone.
Pick up,
Pick
ring,
up the
ring.
phone.
Pick up the phone. Don't miss out the opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, since you are not American native speaker,
Oh,
do you have one word, American word or English word that you cannot still pronunciate?
Jesus, there's so many of them. But this thing with the horses,
What about the horses?
equestrian? How you say that? Equestrian?
Is it
The horses thing. Equestrian?
equestrian?
Who?
Who? What?
Equestrian, I think. But for a long time, honey, I had a problem to say the word available. Now I know how to say it. But before, I would say available.
So yes.
Before I would say
Yes.
available, I would add that lele part.
Available.
Available. So I had to go to the translator and put it in there, and the woman would be available.
Yeah.
Available. So I just had to learn available. How is the horse thing?
Equestrian.
Who? What?
Equestrian.
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 So it's so funny. Yes, absolutely. I know another word of yours that you cannot. I mean, you say it, but it's not the right pronunciation.
What
In
is
English,
it?
it's so funny when she says it. There is a state in America that it's called Missouri, right? And she always said Missouri. Like it's something in misery.
misery.
Like it's a miserable.
misery.
Like, yeah.
Everything in the misery is misery.
But it's Missouri, right?
Missouri.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Missouri.
What is your
Also, past tense, forget it. Like all the past tenses, have been, had been, has been, all that stuff. Oh gosh. I was not paying attention when we were going through that at school, and I need to learn that. It's kind of a shame. I should know by now, right?
It's always work in progress.
Yes.
It's fine. I mean,
Yes.
you're immigrant, we're immigrants, so
I was dealing with something in my mind that it's like a moment of vulnerability. This is not a word. Vulnerability. Did I say it right?
yes.
So to be vulnerable and like to say that like prior to producing this podcast, I had the imposter syndrome about the pronunciation and English. And I was like, I'm gonna read so many books and I'm gonna go to Duolingo again and like learn English again. And then I'm like, no, like that's not authentic. The authentic approach is that my English is not perfect. English is not my first language.
Yes.
And I am doing mistakes and I own my mistakes.
Yes.
And sometimes it's even funny, like when I say something wrong and people laugh, and I like it. I like when they
Yes.
laugh, and yes, I said it wrong and I know I said it wrong, but I just roll with it because sometimes it's more fun.
Yeah, it is. And again, everybody understands you and it's not your
Yeah.
first language and that's all okay. America is, made by immigrants. So
Yes.
everybody has something their own. That's what makes you unique, how would you describe success, or what is success for you as an
What is
immigrant?
success for me?
Yeah.
As an immigrant,
Mm-hmm.
definitely like achieving the dream of having the stability in this country, which is this that I showed already. But like over time, being healthy, happy, and having friends and family that loves me and cares about me, and my own business and education, that's success for me. I'm glad that the universe provided me all the opportunities to have that in life.
Nice. I love it. I have another question for you about this podcast.
Yes. Let's talk about podcasts.
Yes. Why? Why have you decided to start this
Why
podcast?
podcast?
What was that aha moment that came into your mind or idea where you were like that light in your mind? I have to start this
Yes.
podcast. Right.
So the podcast started because I had a huge realization that in Miami there is so many immigrants, and people like us, like you and me, we deal with a lot of turmoils and obstacles in this process of living life in the United States.
Yes.
So for all the immigrants out there, I want to provide my podcast as a platform for immigrants to connect to the stories, get inspiration, have like a feeling that they are not alone, because there's so many people who are going to be guests and share their unique stories. So the purpose of this podcast is essentially to provide for the listeners the safe space where they can feel that they can relate to other immigrants. Maybe they get inspiration and some answers, and essentially create a community for immigrants and people who need support in this country.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that was my next question, but you already answered it.
Okay. But I can
So
talk
their
about this for
takeaway,
hours.
their takeaway, it's mostly inspiration and
Yes, inspiration.
community, and that's beautiful. Yeah.
And also another thing
I
is,
wish we had that when I moved here
me
in
too, me
America.
too. I wish I
Yeah.
had someone like that where I could listen to it or even connect with people who can help and give a guidance. But also the what triggered the thought of this podcast is that yes, Miami is such a melting pot of different cultures and immigrants, but there's also a lot of Americans, and they cannot relate to what we go through because they've
Yes.
never had such
They haven't
a
experienced it.
life-changing journey. And sometimes when I am with Americans who never done that, I feel like they look at me like, where are you coming from? Like
Like you're an
different
alien.
planets. Yeah. Because my mentality and approach and opinions and the way I do things is very foreign to them because they never had to like relocate and start all over in a different country, speaking different language, alone and all of that. So that triggered my thought too because I was like, oh my god, like America is essentially built off immigrants. And like why it's when I googled and started to work on this, I've realized there's a lot of negative stigma around this word. And I don't want to get into politics at all. That's not the purpose of this podcast. I rather want to glorify this word and this whole process because everybody has unique story and there's a lot of successful immigrants who changed America. Not to
and
mention
the world too.
and the world.
Yeah.
Not to mention Elon Musk. Not to mention CEO of Microsoft. There's a lot of famous people like Gloria Estefan, the singer, and Mila Kunis, and a lot of tennis players. And all of these people just made America better with their presence. So I don't understand why this is not more celebrated. So this is also my one of my goals to celebrate people and immigrants and their stories.
Yeah, that I think that would be amazing if we can. I love actually the idea of the podcast and everything, and that celebration. It's I think we should have more of that.
Right?
Absolutely, we
I
should have more
totally
of
love it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you when you said you think differently, I mean, you act differently versus, some Americans. And can you tell us one example? How do you think differently? What was one situation that you've been at and your thoughts and your approach of that situation was a little different than like what American will do? I have one little example, but I want to hear it from you.
The first story that comes to mind is that one time we had a dinner and they were talking how big of a deal is to move from, I'm gonna say an example, from LA to Miami. Like how big of a deal that is. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, is it? Like you're just moving. Yes, it is far. Okay, it is far.
It's a different
from,
state,
It's different
Yeah.
coast, right?
Yes,
like
different
okay,
coast,
it
different
is.
state.
It takes some balls. It takes. You have to have like ambition and energy and be responsible and all of that. Yes, it is a big deal ish, but is it? Like you are still in America, you are still speaking English, you are still
Yes.
making dollars,
Yes.
you still have your friends and family and everybody on the call. You can hop on the plane and you are with them relatively in like relatively in a short period of time. So like, is it really a big deal? And then I'm like thinking, and I don't want to compare like, yes, that's better, that's worse, that's easier, that's harder. But for me, that was like one thing I was like, oh yeah, like imagine immigrating to a country where you don't speak the language, don't know anyone, don't have money, have nothing, no connections. Like these people would not survive probably. What is your example?
My example is, as you said, how we are doing it a little bit differently. Is I have friends from LA too, and they're Americans. I mean, they come from Europe, but they're Americans. And I invited them to come to New York, where I used to live, to be my guests. And I had 2-bedroom apartment, of course, and they American way is that everybody needs to have their own room, their own bathroom,
Oh,
and
yeah.
comfortability, comfort, and all of that.
Yes.
But in our country, we are used to closeness. We are used to being tied next to each other, and like I share everything with you: the food, the plates, the bed, the bathroom. You know, doesn't matter how many people we are, just to be close to each other's and share that moment.
I have another example that you just reminded me of. And that is the shoes. Why
about shoes?
Americans don't remove the shoes? Why they walk with shoes inside?
I don't know.
That for me was like, why are you not taking off your shoes? Like the shoes are dirty from the street. God knows where people were like walking before, and like they go and walk on the carpet and go to the bathroom and to the bedroom, and I'm like, no, like don't do that in my house.
Yeah, he's in the shoes too. What also made me laugh too when I moved to America in San Francisco with this American family, and they were not like us, you know, in Europe, like asking you, do you want to drink something? Do you want, you know, they would tell me straightforward. There's the fridge.
Yeah,
open the fridge.
there's a
Help
Coca-Cola.
yourself. Help yourself.
Yeah.
You know, do your own thing. And I was like, this is
that's
funny
not. We are hospitable. We love to provide and like take care of people.
We're just saying the different cultural things that
differences.
differences are a little bit. You know, at the beginning it's shocking a little bit, but you get used to it. So yeah, that's an interesting story.
To all our listeners, please, if you have any of these funny situations, drop the comment down below, because I want to know your experience with like different situations in America and cultural differences. Let me know, please.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Can I be the first one to write the comment? Okay. What is next for Martina? As now you are a successful woman, American too, you've been through so many things. So what is the next step for you and also this podcast?
I think my big goal now is to focus on the podcast, provide value for the listeners, give them guidance, give them inspiration and motivation, essentially to have like a movement and have this platform as a safe place for people like us, immigrants. So when it comes to podcast, that's definitely my goal, to grow it in 2025. Have episodes every Sunday, so 4 episodes a month. So that when it comes to podcast, just growth and provide value and help immigrants. That's definitely the podcast goal. When it comes to like the business and career and everything, I would love to grow my business. I currently own a business called Maza Events. We help people to create unique moments and setups for these occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, also marriage proposals. So definitely grow that. And when it comes to personal life, you know, for 9 years I've been fighting to be in the United States, and now I'm fighting to be half in Europe, half in America. So that's like the new goal, to be to spend summer in Europe and winter in America. So in between Miami, New York, all of these amazing places. So that's definitely like to organize my life the way that I can be anywhere and still make money, and have my family and friends in Europe, and have my family and friends in America, and just like have the diversity of American lifestyle and European lifestyle.
Half and half.
Half and half.
Yeah, that's the best.
And lastly, you know, the personal life, definitely, you know, settle down and start my American Slovakian family.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. You're in the right path. Beautiful. I would love to ask you now 1-word answer questions.
Ooh la la,
Okay,
let's get into
so
this.
let's
I'm
go.
kind of nervous but excited what to expect.
Okay, so what's the first thing you think of when you hear America?
Uh, opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Opportunity.
What's the
Possibilities.
what's the weirdest food you've tried here?
The the chicken waffle thing. For
Sweet and
me,
salty.
sweet and sour and meat, I'm like, no. But I had a friend who introduced me to this meal, and we went to American restaurant to try it. Yeah, it's a no go for me. It's one and done, and I'll never eat it again.
Which American celebrity would you swap lives with
But
in a day?
definitely Sarah Blakely. I'm in love with her.
Why?
She's the founder of Spanx. She's a self-made billionaire woman, American, has 4 kids, and is also married to a successful entrepreneur, also billionaire. And I just love everything about her and them as a family and a power couple. She's very inspirational. She's also spiritual, connected to herself, law of attraction, manifestation, and she's a badass bitch. She did it. I love her. So yes, fun fact to this is that I only knew of her because I attended this like a networking event where she was one of the speakers. So I was like, wow, this woman has my attention. I'm in love with her. And one time I was working on this private event as a server. I was a server, and she was there. So
Wow.
I cleaned her plate. I gave her her food. I refilled her water and wine, and I was like, this is the best day of my life.
Can you say so now to wrap up this podcast episode, because
Yes.
we said about the differences between European culture, American culture, but can you say what are the similarities between Slovakia and America? Can you find some similarities there? Like people, let's say with my country, people, guys, they love sport, they love football. They also love to go out, have drinks with friends and cocktails and like happy hours, let's say, like in America,
Really?
you know.
It's
Yeah,
not that big.
we don't call it happy hours, but they love going to go and drink with friends. Like here in America too. Like what that could be similarity, with your country and America.
The first that comes to mind is like the mountains that we have. The biggest mountains called High Tatras. It's gorgeous mountains, beautiful. It's very similar to Colorado. And for me, that's like the similarity that like the mountains here and in Colorado are so similar that when I went to Colorado and we went for hiking, I was like, am I in Slovakia right now? But then like stuff like this, I can't really think of that many similarities. We are just like very different.
So, Martina, thank you so much for starting this podcast. As an immigrant, I really believe and I really know that it's very important for us to have such a beautiful show and community and the inspiration for moving forward just through this journey. I know there are many people who are over there in the middle of their journey, and maybe they're in the moments like you've been a couple of years ago, or myself, wanted to quit or cry out, and so thank you so much for this idea and starting this show, and thank you for having me as your first guest host to interview you. It was my honor.
Thank you very much for always supporting all of my ideas and for being here as a friend and as an immigrant to show up for other immigrants. And I'm excited to interview you when the time is right to share your unique story. And yes, thank you for being here, honey.
Yeah,
thank you for being
I'm very excited.
part of this journey, this unstoppable immigrant flight.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And thank all
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for the listeners
yes.
to join us on this beautiful podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with my dear friend Millie, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for flying with Unstoppable Immigrant Airways. We hope this podcast brought you joy, motivation, inspiration, and connection. Feel free to share this episode with someone who really needs to hear it. And until next time, stay unstoppable.